So to kind of kick things off and try and bring things into a theme, Enrique and I often talk, and he and I have a very similar background. We both grew up in manufacturing and automotive. Him principally starting in design and moving into manufacturing, and me from automation and moving into manufacturing. And he and I spend a lot of time kind of nurturing what's next and what's coming, and trying to helping our customers position for the next big thing. And so I wanted to kind of talk just for a few minutes, a couple minutes this morning, on what we think is going to be the next big thing, and kind of set the stage for how you can prepare for this next big thing, and then align with some of the presentations we have today. And because we think the presenters today are already moving in that direction and heading towards this next big thing. This is a slide that Enrique and I have used a lot, really talking about digital, the supply chain. And some people are calling this supply chain 4.0, but really the essence of it is not only about optimizing the supply chain transactions, but instrumenting the assets in that supply chain, all the different pieces of those assets, and using the data from those not only to optimize themselves and optimize and improve production and throughput, but also to feed forward into the systems, reducing manual transactional type thing that feed the supply chain. And we're seeing this more and more as data communities become more popular in these spaces. The other thing that's really nice, a circular kind of reference, is that all transportation modes start in discrete manufacturing, right? All trucks and planes and trains are all built, and cars are all built in a manufacturing plant. And so, and of course, supply chain is really key to doing that in an efficient and effective way. So not only do we see this from its original inception and design into manufacturing, into test, but also into its operational life. And as we try and bring new concepts into this, we come up with the same term keeps coming up around digital twins, and we've heard already a lot about digital twins. And we thought digital twins might be a great way to theme today. So I'm going to steal a couple slides from a webinar that Enrique did earlier last week. I think you did it last week. It's a great webinar if you want to see it online. But I'm going to take a couple concepts from there and bring them forward, and then towards the end of the day we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So we'll start with the concept of a digital twin, and there's a lot of big terms. Digital twin is often used in lots of different ways. When I went looking for books on digital twins, there were dozens of books that were almost completely different, really targeted at different spaces. But the fundamental root of a digital twin, and I guess I'll add my own personal commentary. I actually don't like the term digital twin. I kind of like something like a digital shadow more than a digital twin. A twin kind of gives you the impression that there's an exact copy of something physical, and there's not. And some of the very best representations of what people would call digital twins are really unifying the virtual reality, the digital reality, and the physical reality. There's only one physical thing, and we're really just using data to describe this thing. And so a twin kind of gives you almost the wrong impression. There's two. There's not two. There's only one. And a physical thing with a digital shadow or footprint. Yeah. So I like that term a little better, but no one would know what I was talking about if I started using that term out of the blue. But there's really a couple key aspects. One, the physical asset, like I said, that's the real thing that needs to be optimized, and we're trying to get a better visibility and insight into. And we're collecting all the data from this asset and putting it into some model. And the model in this context is really key. The model means that I've organized the data in a way that lets me understand implicitly what this thing is, right? So a car is a car, and a truck is a truck, and a train is a train. And that's really important, because when I do analysis on it, I can't be bothered with the underlying differences and what kind of automation and what the data looks like and what it's called and the semantic issues. All those things kind of cloud my ability of understanding what that is when I get to the analysis part. And of course, there's really different kinds of analysis as we go through its life cycle. So we talk a lot about asset life cycle, the cradle to grave data monitoring. which has been a term that's been around for a long time. So really, when you look at digital twins, there are usually two contexts for this discussion. One is around the engineering, design and build piece of digital twins and the CAD and simulation and product lifecycle management. There's a whole world of concepts around this digital twin. And then there's the digital twin that we typically more refer to as the operate and maintain digital twin, right? And more what we're seeing is the convergence of these two concepts, bringing together the design and build piece of this with the operate and maintain piece of this into a unified view, which is that cradle to grave thing, right? That becomes so important. People ask me sometimes, if this has been around for such a long time, why hasn't this happened already? Why hasn't this already become not the next big thing, but the last thing? And I think it's because of the complexity in dealing with that model and the analysis and the focus and the way of optimizing it. But I do think that the maturity of most industries are coming to a point where this is going to be the next big thing. And the benefits of doing this are becoming really apparent. So when you look at these two different cycles, there tends to be almost two different continuous improvement loops. There's a data collection, analyze, and optimize in that operational segment. So when I own and operate something, I want to get the most out of that asset, and so I'm using data to improve that. But in the broader context, that loop feeds into a much bigger loop. Yeah? In the innovation and feeding that back into these design models. And to do that, the models themselves and the context has to align. And I think once you've aligned those contexts, you can start to do that almost immediately. And a lot of the OEMs in these spaces, particularly in the transportation OEMs that I work with and transportation OEMs that Enrique works with, are starting to build on these concepts, are trying to stitch these things together. So today we've got a great lineup of presentations. Kevin from Toyota Motor Europe is going to kick us off with a great presentation around what they're doing for sustainability in manufacturing, building these models out and improving and lowering their carbon footprint, their environmental footprint for energy across Toyota Motor. Great presentation there. We saw our keynote host this morning, and Connie from Sandvik is going to take us through a lot more detail of what they're doing and how they're using Pi in production and how they're using to optimize their systems. So it's a really exciting presentation, really both a tech forward company and a future looking company and doing some exciting things. We have a really great presentation from Seaman from DNVGL. Seaman's a data quality specialist, and as we've talked about continuously, data quality is really key. You really can't do any of these advanced things or do anything significant without really understanding your data quality. And as an expert in that, he's going to share some of his insights over lots of years and how that's being used in compliance. So we're excited to have that talk this morning. And that'll take us through lunch. And then after lunch, we have another presentation from IVA. And Dennis and Stefan are going to share a really cool presentation around heat predictive maintenance for the heat treat in the heat treat segment, which is also a really key area for manufacturing. Really key area to delivering high quality componentry. So that's our day. At the end of the day, Enrique and I have arranged to have a panel discussion. So it'll be narrated by Mike Canellos, one of our colleagues, and we've got three really great panelists to kind of dive a little deeper into this concept of digital twins and how we can leverage that into the future. So Ian Hughes from 451 Research, Enrique from OSIsoft, and Kavat from Dassault Systems is going to be here. And Dassault is one of our partners, and they're been integral in pushing these concepts forward through that whole lifespan. So the whole data lifespan. So we're going to have a discussion there, and then we're going to shut off all the cameras and have a pretty honest and open discussion about, okay, what does this really mean? Is this really the next big thing, or is this just the big hype that, you know, we may never be able to get any real value from? So we hope to have that discussion towards at the end of our day, right, to kind of cap this off. And hopefully the presentations that we've used and the value that people have brought forward will help help set the stage for that discussion. So I encourage you to join us for that.